Thank you very much for a fascinating panel. May I now invite the Regional Minister, our NECSTouR President, and Taleb Rifai, Secretary General, to think about coming to the stage. Be on standby. I'll give you 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Is that good? Right, may I invite you to the stage now. Round of applause for our distinguished guests.
¿Estamos bien? Bueno, buenas tardes.
Good afternoon
A todos y a todas.
to everyone.
Mr. Rifai.
Mr. Rifai, thank you.
Thank you. Welcome.
Thank you and welcome again. Octavi,
Gracias.
thank you.
Gracias a todos y a todas.
Thank you
Buenas
all,
tardes.
ladies and gentlemen.
Quiero empezar este acto
I would
de
like to
clausura y
start this
conclusiones
closing ceremony and conclusions with words of thanks,
con palabras de
of
agradecimiento
gratitude
en nombre propio y
on
en
my
nombre
behalf and on
de
behalf
Andalusia,
of
la
the
presidencia.
regional government and our
Palabras
presidency.
de agradecimiento en primer lugar
Words
a
of gratitude, first of all, to NECSTouR and the OTM,
la creación de este espacio de reflexión
to the World
compartido
Tourist
por todos y por
Organization
que busca,
for making
que
it
tiene el objetivo de
possible to have this meeting in order to enrich tourism, to broaden the touristic offer, to enrich tourism with capital letters in this world and in Europe. Secondly, I would like to thank all the participants from the European regions, from the university networks, representatives of the member states, institutions, stakeholders in the tourist sector, experts, all of you here today, because you have made this meeting purposeful. You have made this meeting grow and take in all the participants, because you are the true protagonists of this meeting. You have made us richer culturally, intellectually than yesterday and the day before yesterday. I would also like to thank all the professionals, both from the Company of European Tourism and all the institutions that made it possible for these 2 days to be such a success as we are celebrating today. I would like to thank the staff of the Regional Ministry for Tourism, who are so committed, not only in these 2 days, but always, and they will continue to be so committed, because I agree with the words of the President of the region. This is a permanent goal that should boost our need to grow and to continue. I think Andalusia has gained even more importance in these 2 days in tourism. It has gained more importance because it has moved from the figures to planning. It has moved from results to start planning the future. Andalusia has been the protagonist of what we want to be a smart destination, and we consider it should be the future of sustainable tourism. A sustainable tourism, such as the United Nations have said, which should be to the purpose of development, that allows us to develop in our peoples a more sustainable, a more fair way of doing tourism that guarantees the next generations a future. I would like to say that the conclusions we have drawn in these 2 days, there are 2 words that were always overflowing, 2 words that have been the protagonists of the conclusions of these debates: opportunity and sustainability. These 2 words harbor the basis for our competitiveness, the basis for our future competitiveness. Opportunity and sustainability are the basis of what we have to create in order to have future in tourism. And they are the basis of what we should keep as a goal in order to continue to grow in a sustainable way, so that tourism can really bring together the people. It is a challenge to make society, neighbors, able to see tourism as an opportunity. These are the challenges that we'll see as an opportunity. And therefore, I think the courage we are bringing into the challenge is very solid. It has a very solid foundation. Policies need to be assessed and they need to be developed, and we need to be able not only to plan, but to have a look at the result of such planning. We have to be able, all of us together, to design a new, better offer every day. And so we would like to thank the commitment from the United Nations, from NECSTouR, with tourism and the development of each of the regions. The commitment to have a fairer tourism, a more solidary tourism, and of course, sustainable. During lunch today with Octavi, we were saying that maybe the key is that sustainability is a concept which is already self-explained, it is obvious, and we only need to develop it further. We know that it's necessary, it is an obligation in order to develop tomorrow's future and tourism, and we need to apply it. Thank you, Taleb, thank you, Octavi, thank you all, because today we are a bit bigger and we have a better future. Thank you.
Le doy la palabra a Octavi Bono, señor Bono.
And now Octavi Bono has the floor.
Muchas gracias, consejero. De nuevo un saludo, señor Rifai. Buenas tardes ya a todos.
Dear Rifai, Mr. Rifai, good afternoon in this final session of the 2 very intense days.
Honored as the president of NECSTouR to share this meaningful event with whom has inspired our work in the last weeks and months, leading us to what we have achieved today. Mr. Rifai, Secretary General of the World Tourism Organization, we cannot thank you enough, but we can express our great satisfaction and well-being feeling after having listening to you today, shared our time, our discussions, our table, our signatures, sharing this momentum, which is unique for regions, as we are confirmed as drivers for sustainable change, and we all share this commitment to go further together for more sustainable tourism in our territory. And let me say that I found your words more inspiring than ever. Thank you so much. Thank you also to all of you, all the participants, the tourism stakeholders. All of us, we share this conviction and passion for tourism being the driver for better places to live and better places to be visited. Thank you for also sharing your knowledge and time with us. We have been learning from each other on how to make tourism smart for the benefit of our planet and our people. This today's season is, without any doubt, the starting point, let me say, of a new era to the upcoming activities and steps for NECSTouR, with all of you will taking part in this future. On the other hand, I want to express my gratitude to Susana Diaz, President of the Regional Government of Andalusia, and Francisco Javier Fernández, the Regional Minister of Tourism and Sports, to represent their wonderful region today and honor us with their presence during all day. Thank you also to Susana Ibáñez, the Secretary General for Tourism of Andalusia. Your efforts to make us feel at home in your beautiful region has been a great success. And in this part, in order to thank, and perhaps out of protocol, let me say that I need to say that to express a very, very special thanks for the NECSTouR Permanent Secretariat. It's a big team. It's a small team, but big in the way they do things. It's Cristina, Sandra, Tommaso, Gergo, and also Alexander. They have been working very hard, taking care of every single detail, sleeping just a few hours every day, and keeping in their faces a charming smile always. So thank you so much. Let me ask you, all of you, a big applause for them. As I have been underlining many times during this intensive two-day season, NECSTouR could not have found a better place to host its General Assembly for 2017, as well as today's conference about sustainable tourism for development. In fact, Seville is a major hub of European tourism destination and a key destination of cultural and historical heritage. Besides, all the regions present at this season, along with the protagonists involved in it, feel like we are part of a multicultural and multilingual family. Indeed, we feel like partners of the same community, the sustainable tourism community. Partners who gathered and are willing to define solid strategies which will lead to long-term, innovative, sustainable, and harmonized tourism solutions. Nevertheless, as partners are aware that European regions have to face various challenges. First of all, the economic crisis is an unfortunate reality, but it has to be an opportunity for the regions to consolidate their mutual cooperation. Moreover, environment is also a difficult task to take into consideration, as the European regulation is fragmented in this matter. The mass tourism phenomenon in coastal areas, climate change, and the complex link between urbanism and tourism are some of the factors which can be overcome by setting up instruments and indicators, systems, to guarantee sustainable activities and effective management models. To finish, the small and medium enterprises are suffering from a lack of visibility through the European Union territory due to the globalization phenomenon. It's our role to offer them a way to gain relevance and offer them possibilities as well of investments through the equality and of change with other enterprises and companies. Through the sustainability agenda of the United Nations for 2017, NECSTouR regions are ready to develop and implement tools to monitor sustainable development impacts, which will create jobs and promote local culture and products. It's important to highlight that direct link to tourism is made in 3 out of the 17 Sustainable Development Goals in the year of sustainability for 2017, as this morning was said. This year is our chance to foster tourism in regard of sustainability and to put the people as a central focus for the development of this sustainable tourism. Furthermore, it's our chance to insert cultural heritage as a real value and factor for regional development, and to set sustainability as a common thread to social cohesion. Moreover, it is an opportunity for sustainable coastal and maritime tourism management in order to contribute to the European Union Blue Growth Strategy objectives. NECSTouR calls for a pan-European dialogue involving all those stakeholders at all governance levels, together with the industry, the scientific community, the consumers, and all of us being citizens and tourists, with the idea to exchange on the smart government strategies, the innovate solutions, the blue job creation, and the coastal and marine ecosystem sustainability. Leading to a European tourism for blue growth strategy, which is the proposal we share with you through the call for action that Thoritza mentioned this morning, and to which we very much invite you to contribute. Share with input with us. Join with us this venture, and let's innovate together, because the future of tourism in European regions is in our hands, and regions are following the UNWTO agenda for 2017 International Year of Sustainable Tourism for Development and beyond. Thank you all. Thank you very much.
Mr. Taleb, Rifai.
I don't know how to start this one. It works already. Thank you so much, Javier. Thank you so much, Octavi. And thank you all for having us today. It feels like we are in a big family here. This is the very, very essence of tourism. I've experienced it in so many times before. People that don't know each other come to meetings and they leave each other as friends. We compete with each other, but then at the end of the day, we have so much in common, because I think we have a bigger purpose in life. In these last concluding remarks, I'd like to talk about three things to sum it up. I feel a bit guilty because I did not attend many of the presentations, but I did come in and out, and I heard some of the very important deliberations that were made. You were focused on three things, I would say. One is cultural affinity, communication between cultures, and how is that affecting the conflicts that we're living in today. Many of you were focused on the status quo of today. Some aired concerns, some were worried, but it was this intercultural ability to bridge the divide between nations that was at the focus of some of what you said. The second thing is, we talked about travel and tourism, its growth and its sustainability. The third thing you talked about was Europe, focused on Europe, and particularly on the ability of Europe for innovation and being smart. So let me just make a few comments on each one of those very quickly to make some concluding thoughts on this. On the issue of culture divide and cultural conflicts as such, I believe that there was unanimous consensus that we cannot accept the divides that are being placed in our face today, the walls that are being erected, the directions that are being pulled in some of the nations, particularly in Europe and North America, that are trying to divide us from each other, make us not travel, isolate us from each other. This is precisely what the agenda of what we call the forces of darkness, I like to call them the forces of darkness, are trying to impose on us. They want us not to travel. They want us to mistrust each other. They want to isolate us from each other. So the question that should be put in place, whose agenda are we serving? When we close our borders, when we restrict travel, who do we serve really, whether we know it or not? We're helping the agenda of those forces of darkness, and we need to take a collective stand on this. Our meeting here in Seville was a wonderful example of how we've done it before in history, even hundreds of years ago. Our ancestors were living together in an incredibly harmonious way. Of course there were conflicts. Of course there were fights within each other, but they did it together. And they were able to build this very strong society and a very strong civilization. Muslims, Jews, Christians, from all sects of life. They coexisted, and that's why the meaning of meeting in Seville gains a very special significance here. We did not come here by accident. We came here at the right place and at the right time. The second point is the issue of travel and tourism. It is definitely clear to us that tourism is growing incredibly. It's a way of life, it's a culture. Nobody is going to be able to stop people from traveling anymore. Today, a family would divide its income, expenditure. This is for the education of the children, this is for food, this is for housing, and this is for travel. Now, some families may not have enough means, like other families. They would travel less, they would travel shorter, they would travel less time, they would travel to cheaper places, but travel has become a way of life. We're accepting this. And we have been able to show you and share with you some of the data on how the growth has become. In the year 1950, after the Second World War, the end of the Second World War, there were only 22 million international travelers, according to the records of UNWTO at the time. 22 million international travelers. In the year 2016, there was 1,235 million, from 22 million to 1,235 million. Without doubt, it's an incredibly impressive growth. Because definitely 40, 50, 60 years from now, the future generations would look back at this period in time and say, that was the age of travel. Just as we look back now at the Industrial Revolution and say 200 years ago, that was the Industrial Revolution. The people that were living at that age did not feel what they were passing through. And that's why we don't feel the impact and the significance of this era that we're living in. This is the age of travel. It's the age where people are defying all borders or obstacles or visa silly restrictions and traveling. So growth is a destiny for our sector. Having recognized this, then sustainability is a must, because we cannot have growth that's uncontrolled. Any human activity has an upside to it and has a dark side to it. And there is a dark side to tourism, definitely, and travel. Many, many crimes even of humanity are being committed under the name of travel and tourism. Child sexual abuse, child trafficking, child labor, the smuggling and the stealing of the artifacts and the wildlife of Africa going to other parts of the world. Many, many horrendous crimes are being committed, let alone the destruction of some of the local cultures and the local communities and everything. So we need to stick to an agenda of sustainability, because growth is not an option. Growth is a destiny. The agenda of sustainability should be based, therefore, on the three pillars that the United Nations has identified through consultations with every other stakeholder that we are in contact with: economic sustainability, social sustainability, and environmental sustainability. We sometimes tend to downsize the first two in favor of the third. That is not fair, that is not right. We should be balanced in our responsibility towards people and planet. On economic sustainability, we saw a lot of discussions and we talked a lot about how economic sustainability means that tourism as a transformative force must ensure that the revenues and the benefits of tourism stay in the country and benefit the wider base of people that are possible there. Tourism today is the third largest industry in the world. After fuels and chemicals comes tourism. $1.5 trillion is generated by travel and tourism. How much of that remains in the country where that's spent, that's another question. We need to ensure that there is no what we call trickling out effect or leakages of money outside of the local communities. Local communities must be the first beneficiaries of this. We have to raise the slogans of we can only hire local guides, buy local products, benefit the local community. On the social level, we need to connect tourism to jobs and empowerment of community, jobs for the youth, jobs for the women, jobs for the most vulnerable sectors of the society. Every job in tourism, every direct job in tourism, according to our research, creates an additional 1.4 jobs down the value stream that support it. You build a hotel, the hotel creates 100 opportunities for work. You're actually creating 240 jobs. The people that provide the food to the hotel, the people that service it, the people that maintain it, the taxi drivers, the accountants, the lawyers, whatever you want to add to it. We need to ensure that these jobs are kept in place and they are good jobs, decent jobs, because a job in tourism is not have a good image yet. It's a job that does not abide by minimum international labor standards. It's a job that has a lot of overtime that's not paid, working in awkward hours, and so on and so forth. These are all concerns that we should look at. The last thing is the environmental sustainability. Tourism is contributing today to 5% of the carbon footprint of the world. 5%. It's not 10, it's not 15, it's not 20, but it's 5% too many. We need to share our responsibility in that level at least, which is to reduce and mitigate the emissions of carbon. 2/3 of those are emitted by the transportation means. 1/3 is produced by the hospitality industry. We need to mitigate and we need to address our responsibility towards that. But the third most important issue is how does all of that relate to Europe? Why are we in a European community here concerned with all of this? Because 52 to 55% of the travelers of the world come out of Europe or into Europe now. That's more than 500 million people coming to Europe, and equally the number going out of Europe. Europe is a leader, whether it likes it or not. It's a destiny. The leadership of Europe today must shift from occupying the largest market share into becoming a leader in responsible, ethical, and sustainable tourism. Because Europe will lose a market share, like it or not. It's a fact, it's a destiny. The world has opened up in tremendous ways, and other destinations around the world are growing faster. It's a good thing for the world, because the world is a fairer world, more distributed, more even, more equitable. But it means that Europe will continue to grow, of course, if it works well, but will always have a situation where the market share is reduced. The reduction of the market share should not mean at all that we are losing leadership. And our suggestion in UNWTO, our recommendation, is that Europe leadership must experiment itself in two ways. One, sustainability. Europe must begin to become and come across as the most reasonable, the most responsible, the most ethical practicing of tourism behavior in the world, so that people would look up to us and see how we do things. Secondly, innovation. And that's my before last point. Innovation is a must. Our industry is not known to be the most innovative industry in the world. We're very classical in our thinking. If you think of hotels, they're being run the same way that they were run 600-700 years ago, where the inns were on the Silk Road. You would go to a reception, there is a reception desk, and you take your key, you fill in a paper, you sign, and you go up to your room. Not much has changed. Just to give you an idea about how traditional, how classical we are, just think about it. We were able to put a man on the moon before there were two wheels on a suitcase. So we need to really think outside of the box. We need to be innovative about how we do things. I was in Portugal 3 weeks ago, and I was taken to a school that was concentrating on the issue of innovation. A young student came and presented me with an idea that I found brilliant. He invented a gadget that you would take and plug into your hotel room. When you check in, you take this gadget. like a transformer. This gadget measures the consumption of fresh water that you do while you stay there. It makes you conscious of how much you have consumed fresh water. When you check out, you take this gadget and you give it to the receptionist, to the cashier. The less water you consume, the bigger your discount is going to be. As simple as that. Small ideas like this would change the world around us and would set the example of how responsible we can be. But we need startups, we need incubators, we need people to think about things like this. So please help us do this. Europe is the place that this thing can happen. And an idea like this can really accelerate and become part of the world around us. These are some of the thoughts that I wanted to share with you before we conclude. But my very last thought is about this sustainable year for development, sustainable tourism for development. And it's actually the name, the exact name is the Sustainable Tourism for Development and Peace. It is based on 5 pillars, and I want to share them with you because I did not have a chance in my earlier presentation to share them with you, so that you become conscious of what tourism can do and which are the areas that you can help us direct this. Because the International Year is an opportunity. It's a unique opportunity for us to show off, to show who we are, what we can do as an industry. People don't take us seriously still. I shared with some of my friends a little story, and I would take a minute to share it with you if you don't mind. We at the United Nations are 15 specialized agencies, 15. We were 14, and only recently we became 15 with the addition of the International Organization for Migration. We meet 2 times a year. The heads of the agencies meet 2 times a year, once in spring and once in fall. In these meetings, we share experiences together. We were the latest organization to join the UN. I remember 9 years ago when I first attended my first meeting of those group, the heads of the agencies, all 15 of us were sitting in a room. It's like a retreat. It was still Kofi Annan, the Secretary General at the time, and he was trying to introduce me because I was the newcomer. He said, Mr. Rifai, the Secretary General of UNWTO, the World Tourism Organization. I looked at the faces of my colleagues. They were smiling, half smile on their face, in a shy way. What they were saying in their minds is, are you serious? Tourism? What does tourism have to do with us? We talk about serious things in life. We talk about industry, agriculture, health, labor, food. Tourism? Are you serious? Of course, things have changed a lot since then. Now, whenever we talk in these forums, they listen. They listen very carefully. They know the power of this industry. So because we have to take our industry serious, we have to be also living up to the responsibility that this powerful human activity is providing us. The International Year is an opportunity for us to show off, to show the world what tourism is. Because the very word tourism, that's why every time I say tourism to people that haven't known about it before, I say travel and tourism. They take us a little bit more seriously when I say travel and tourism. Just a little, until I get to know them well, and then I start using the word tourism alone. It's based on 5 pillars. Pillar number 1, economic inclusiveness. How can tourism contribute to making this world economically more inclusive, benefit more societies, needy societies? How can we uplift people out of poverty, increase the income of people, and so on and so forth? The second pillar is a social pillar. Empowerment of communities, creating jobs, and creating quality jobs. The third pillar is the environmental pillar, which is about really how can tourism contribute to making the environment better. Many of you I have shared with them. I came yesterday, the day before yesterday actually, at night from Mexico. In a resort in Cancun that is not known to be the most sustainable place in the world, I saw something that is extremely sustainable and extremely proud. There were 2 or 3 resorts that actually were able to revive the mangroves that were destroyed completely and made them a showpiece because they realized that these are the natural capital of tourism and that if they revive them, they will get more money. They'll get more profit. So there is an interest in protecting the environment because the environment is our natural capital. And nobody consumes, no intelligent person consumes their natural capital. So the relationship between tourism and environmental preservation is absolutely crucial. The fourth pillar is culture, the preservation of culture. That's another very important pillar. I also would like to share with you a very quick story. Last year, I was in the city of Hyderabad in India. I was put in a hotel, part of the hotel chains called Taj Hotel. It's a very luxurious thing. They put me there. I did not object. This hotel was the house, the palace of a king of Hyderabad. The king of Hyderabad was called the Nizam. They called their king a Nizam. This gentleman at the time was the richest man in the world. The story says that he used to lend the British Empire money when the British Empire needed money. So you can imagine what kind of a building that was. And the gardens, amazing. So one night after we finished all our hard work, I was walking in the gardens and a thought came to my mind. If this building was not turned into a hotel, what budget in the world could have been able to preserve it or keep it in the beauty that it is? It was impossible. So anybody that tells you that tourism is the anti of cultural preservation or environmental preservation is wrong. It's how we do it. The last pillar, the fifth pillar, is the pillar of peace and stability. And I don't think we need to talk more about this because we all shared today some of the thoughts of how important it is for tourism to establish peace and understanding. Stereotypes are shattered. When people travel, their minds open, their eyes open, and their hearts open as well. It is a powerful, powerful enemy of bigotry, racism, and stereotyping. And therefore, the world is a better place when we travel. These are some of the thoughts I wanted to share with you to sum up our discussions today and show how important it is for us to feel that we have a heavy responsibility on our shoulders. I thank you very much once again, and I want to thank particularly the people of the wonderful city of Seville. Susanna, wonderful. You were great, really. You know, Susanna and I cannot communicate with each other easily. My Spanish is very rusty. Her English is even rustier. Yet we had a wonderful mediator in between us. But I'm in love with her. She's a wonderful lady and she has a big heart, a big Andalusian heart. Javier also has become a great, great friend. Not only in size, but in heart and in content and everything. Thank you so much, Javier. Thank you all for being with us today. And I, once again, invite you to be good partners with us. Muchas gracias.
Honored guests, our President, NECSTouR members, dear friends and colleagues, thank you all very much for your time, effort, sincerity in attending this conference, which I now declare to be over. Thank you all very much. Thank you.